right now. I love the Democrats. They're an awesome party. They're the only pro-democracy party that we have in this country. And I know a lot of people are very, very sad right now. They feel like the Democrats are going to lose. The polls are saying that they're going to lose. But I'm here to tell you the unpopular truth. Um, the reality is that we've all been scammed, right? Starting with you, you've been scammed by me. I just scammed you, pretending as if I'm a fan of the Democrats, the fraudulent Democrats who are the good friends of the Republicans. So that's the first scam. Scam number one, you've been misled by me so far. But now the truth. The Democrats are going to win by a landslide because what you've been led to believe in terms of what elections mean, in terms of what it means to win versus lose, is an illusion. It's a fantasy. The reality is the Democrats always win as long as they win the elections the normal way, or they can go as low as losing by a small margin. So if you see a close election, that means the Democrats are going to win. What do I mean by that? You have to get out of this cartoonish view that winning an election means you just won the election and you won a seat in Congress or whatever, you won the presidency. You gotta separate, put those views aside. Like that's how we've been taught to believe, right? And think for a second. What is the mission of these individuals, these politicians? What do they seek to achieve? What is or what are their goals, right? Now, if you think super simplistically, you might say, oh, they want to win elections. They want to get power. Okay. This is my view. And you can tell me if you agree with me. You can disagree with me if you choose. This is my view on the goal of American politicians, regardless of whether you're Democrat or Republican. The goal of American politicians is power and money. That's all they care about. Well, I guess fame as well. Power, fame, and money. That's all they care about. If that is what they care about, if that's their goal, that means winning means not winning the presidency or winning an election. Winning means power, money, and fame, right? What will AOC have at the end of this election? Power, fame, and money. If, first of all, keep in mind, AOC is not going to lose, right? I don't even think she's up for election right now, but these politicians that are in deep blue areas are not going to lose. Joe Biden's not going anywhere. Pelosi's not going anywhere. AOC's not going anywhere. The leaders of the Democratic Party are not going anywhere. What does that mean? After this election, what will they have? Power, money, and fame. They're going to still be on Twitter tweeting whatever, oh, this and that, and oh, the Republicans this and whatever, right? They're going to still grow their following. They're going to still be making backdoor deals, making money. They're going to still be in bed with the corporations, just like the Republicans are, slightly to a lesser degree, but it's not a competition. They're going to still be in bed with the corporations. They're going to still be basically setting up the 1% to succeed at our expense, we the people, right? Losing the election by a small margin for the Democrats means winning. And it gets even bigger than that. What else do they win? Basically, for the next 2 years, the Democrats get to go on vacation, right? Joe Biden's presidency is over. The Democrats basically are going to be completely handicapped and unable to do anything. If the Democrats, a month from now, come up with an amazing bill that would help a lot of regular working class Americans, if the Democrats actually come up with a bill, and they're more likely to do that now, the Republicans will block it, right? People on the right looked at the January 6th hearings as theater. You want to know what's theater? Theater is what's about to come, right? After they quote unquote lose the election, right? Now they get to put on a big show. Oh, let's do a $20 an hour minimum wage nationally, right? Yeah, wink, wink. Yeah, we're going to help out the working class people. Okay, Republicans, help us. Thumbs down. Oh, well, we tried. We tried. You voters, you're the ones that did this. You didn't vote hard enough. Vote harder, and next time when we have power, we're going to actually do something. Unlike the last time we had power and we didn't do much, and the last time before that and we didn't do much, right? The next time, then we're going to really do some stuff. So you need to vote harder, and then we're going to deliver, right? Then move on to the next big bill. Oh, we're putting out a proposal, Medicare for all. No one should have to die because they can't afford health care. That's what all the Americans deserve. Hey, Republicans, look at this wonderful plan. What do you think? Thumbs down, it sucks. Anything Democrats do sucks, it sucks. Then you go back to your base. Well, we tried, but the Republicans. That's what you're going to get for the next 2 years. But the Republicans. What does this mean? The Democrats won't have to do any work for the next 2 years. You can get online and basically you're free, right? Before you had to be careful what you say. You had to kind of be a little bit strategic in the wording that you're using because it could come back to bite you. Didn't you promise to do X, Y, and Z? What happened, right? Now you can promise the world. Say whatever you want to say. We're gonna do this. We're gonna minimum wage is coming up. We're gonna do the voting rights, this and that, and we're gonna bring back the whatever. Right? You can say it all. Right? You can do all. What is it? Right? You can write all the checks. What is it? Write checks that your ass can't cash or something. Whatever the expression is. You can write all the checks, right? Yeah, we're getting this, we're getting that, we're getting this, right? And then you go on Twitter and yeah, look, this is what the Democrat Party, right? Knowing damn well that the Republicans are going to block it. So you can virtue signal like crazy. So no more do you have to be careful in how you word stuff. You could go all out because remember, ultimately, what is the goal? Power, money, and fame. Where does the money come from? Money comes from the donors. Helping working class people, helping middle class people that progressives don't want to talk about. Progressives just like talk about the poor, right? Meanwhile, the middle class is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. You help the poor, right? Giving them the freedom to be able to better themselves, what the supposedly Republicans claim, yeah, we're so very bootstrapped, right? You help the people at the bottom, giving them the freedom to be able to do things to better themselves, right? Start a business, start a new career, whatever it is, right? And then once they get out of the poor, the progressives abandon you. Oh, you're rich now. Oh, you got a big house, right? You got money. Oh, these liberal elites, right? You still part of the goddamn 99%, but they want to treat you like you're part of the 1%. That is the scam. Focusing on the poor is very, very effective because you have a lot of sad stories, a lot of materials, a lot of people poor in this country, right? You focus on the poor and you can get people to emotionally respond. You show people really destitute. Oh my goodness, want me drinking water, whatever it is, and oh my goodness, we gotta help these people, right? And then you propose whatever ridiculous program. Yeah, this and that. We gotta do better, America, right? And then by you focusing only on this particular class, right? Abandoning the middle class, right? So therefore, the people at the bottom rise to the middle and then they fall right back down to the bottom again because once you rise out of poverty, you're completely abandoned, right? And we're going to talk more about that in future videos. But the bottom line is, the Democrats are absolutely going to win this election. They're going to win in a way, the only way that matters to them. Power, money, fame. Power, money, fame. After this election, the leading Democrats will still have their jobs. They'll still be making $180,000 plus. They'll still be millionaires. If they're not millionaires yet, they'll still be on a path to become millionaires. They'll still be on a path for decades of financial security, benefits, health care, right? Power, influence, decades. They'll still be on a path to where they will die in office, right? They will be 99 years old. I'm 99 years old, but I ain't about to quit. I'm about to retire because I got this power. Power, right? After this election, they're still going to be on that path, the Pelosi path where AOC is headed, right? Decades of isolation from the things that we, the people, regular Americans, have to deal with. We got to deal with wages, stagnant wages, right? We got to deal with healthcare issues. We got to deal with this unbalanced approach. Let's focus on the poor and ignore the middle class. So we have a revolving door. We recognize the revolving door of the prisons where we don't have reform, right? So over policing, you put people in prison, you don't reform them, so then they come out and they go do the crime again, right? And then it's right back in prison, right? The progressives recognize that, but they don't recognize the revolving door of the class war. They don't recognize that. Right? Oh, we gotta get people to stay in their homes and this and that and that. And then any people that actually make it out of poverty, let's abandon them. And if they complain about anything, oh, cry me a river. You get the same type of savage responses that you would get from conservatives regarding the poor. Right? People want to talk about racism. Well, we had a black president. Look at how many black millionaires we have. If they can do it, why can't you do it? Right? Oh, my job, they don't pay enough. Well, get a better job. You're down paying. Right? Get you a better job. Who told you to take that job? Anything you complain about, well, that's your fault. And when you talk to progressives about the abandoning of the middle class, you get the same rhetoric. Oh, at least you have enough money to have a house. You have homeowners who are homeless. You have homeowners who are living in vans. You have homeowners, there's a small landlords who are terrified to rent, which means rent prices are going to go up because less people are willing to rent, because renting right now is extremely risky because of all this over focus on just, let's just focus on the poor rather than the entire economy. Right? I would say tax the rich. I would say support the poor. And I would say when the poor moves up the line, let's continue supporting them so they can continue to contribute to the economy so we get even more growth. But instead we get this focus, oh, just on the poor and the poor and the poor. And then after that, then what? There's no plan about then what. So they rise up from the poor. Now they're in the middle class. They have struggles. And we completely abandon them because we're like, listen, you got a 6-figure job. There's people who are barely making $4 an hour. As if people live in bubbles. With middle class, you live on this island, the poor live. We live together. We live in this country together. The people who are poor need places to stay. If they can't afford the places to stay, we have government programs to help that. But if people are running far, the people who have the properties to rent are terrified, as I am, of these government programs because we see how the government will take over our homes. And realize, again, it's the 99% versus the 1%, right? So let's go down the full path that progressives don't want to talk about. You focus on the people and the poor, you keep them in their homes so they don't end up on the street. They end up elevating themselves, some of them, the few, who are fortunate enough to be able to pull it off, to get to a middle class. Then they become part of this class of people who have the ability to be able to buy homes and rent them out. Right? But then we think, oh, well, you made it, you're good now, which is ironically very similar to the way that you see on the conservative side when we talk about racism. Right? Racism is over. Black people you got black millionaires, you got black president. What are you talking about, right? Same rhetoric. It's almost as if the problem is American culture and not about your ideology. Because you have Americans who are very emotional thinkers, whether they're on the right or the left, they have the same level of reasoning. Right? So conservatives look at, oh, black president. What are you talking about racism? What do progressives do? Well, you have enough money to buy a home to rent it out, so why should we worry about you? So then what's the end result? So you have these people go from poor to middle class, get a home, they can rent it out, then they lose their homes, and then who you think steps in? Who you think steps in? Who wins? The poor loses, the middle class loses. Who wins in that scenario? You have less apartments to rent, so the rent prices go up, so that hits the poor even more. The programs designed to help the poor struggle because renters, small landlords are terrified of these programs, so they run far away to do everything they can do to avoid renting to anyone on a government program. So the government programs suffer. Rent prices are up because the volume is very low. So then when the middle class loses their homes because the government turns their homes into homeless shelters, all of the guys that we got to help the poor and keep people off the streets, who do you think steps in? Who wins in the end? The poor can't afford to live in their homes, so we keep them in homes for now, and then we have more in poverty long term, more homeless long term, right? Short term gains to get those votes, long term suffering, right? And then what happens to those homes after the small landlords lose those homes? You have BlackRock will step in and buy these properties on discounts, right? So we set the system up to where if you're poor, you can't afford to buy a home. I don't mean that literally. There's certain ways, but it's really difficult if you're poor to own a home, right? So we put you permanently. You're in the rent class, right? And then for those who make it out of that class, who actually have the ability to buy homes, we set you up for failure so that you can lose your homes, right? By putting this class war, the poor against the middle class, right? Poor, oh, don't listen to these elites. Don't worry about them. They got it made. They're good. Don't worry about them, right? We're going to help you out, right? So you got the poor and the middle class fighting against each other instead of the 1%. Who do you think gets the home in the end? The poor can't afford it because the system is rigged that way. The middle class can't hold on to it because the system is rigged that way. So who steps in when the house gets foreclosed on? BlackRock steps in. BlackRock. Who does BlackRock service? The elites, the 1%. Corporate landlords. That's where we're headed. That's where the Democrats are pushing us, and that's where the Republicans are pushing. Together, they are pushing us to a future of where we won't own anything. Right? Poor can't rent, poor can't own. Middle class can't hold on to the properties. So an overwhelming amount of the properties get taken over by the 1%. People like, or companies, corporations like BlackRock, they buy these properties dirt cheap and make massive profits while the rest of us are left to suffer. The Democrats are going to win by a landslide this election, as they do every election that they lose by a small amount. The only way the Democrats actually lose, it has to be where the Republicans actually have this major landslide, where you're talking about, it's got to be a situation where the election is not close at all. Like the Republicans in every poll are like 10, 20, or 30 points ahead. The problem with that and why that's an actual loss is because even though the same factors apply for the most part in terms of the key Democrats are still going to be in power, but I mean, if the Republicans are winning that, bigly, then some of the top Democrats would actually be at risk. They're not at risk now. The top Democrats ain't going nowhere now. But if the Republicans pull ahead by a major, amount, then top Democrats would actually be at risk of losing their position. But the bigger issue is if the Republicans gain too much of a lead on the Democrats could be out of power for too long. That can set off a trend where you lose a lot of power, and then the Republicans take that power and they use it to rig the system to their advantage. So you start losing. It's like it's a domino effect. You lose this election, then you lose the next election, And then there's so many cycles. And what happens is over time, even the key Democrats start losing power. You look at people like AOC being threatened, actually, not like some right wing commentator, giving copium to their viewers for clicks. I mean, legitimately, imagine a situation where AOC is actually terrified of losing her position. That is when they start to lose. They start to lose when we're looking at a potential 10, 20 years of them out of power. And in that situation, them doing so badly and being left so far behind, who knows what can happen? That could open up the door to a third party or something like that, and maybe the Democrats just go away, right? But as long as the election is close, the Democrats absolutely win. If they were to actually win this election and keep the Senate and keep the House, that's actually problematic because they would have to work for the next 2 years because they have to be strategic in what they say and how they say things. You don't want to say too much. You got to dance around, and you can't get everything you want exactly the way you want it, right? And this is not the way politics work. Things take time, and we're not going to change the whole thing overnight. Like, you got all this kind of rhetoric, and then you have people going to be calling you out and say, wait a minute, why don't you do this? And you could do this thing, and Biden could make executive orders, and da-da-da-da. And that's complicated, man. You're trying to control a narrative, and you've got people that are poking holes so easily, like that keeps you on your toes, man. But if they lose the Senate and they lose the House, one or the other, or both, then it frees them up. They can say whatever they want to say, right? They can all the aggressive rhetoric. We're gonna Medicare for all. We're gonna bring up the middle, because they know they ain't got to do none of it because the Republicans are gonna block everything. So Democrats losing this election means vacation for the next 2 years, and the way things are going, it might be 6 years plus, right? So they're gonna win by a landslide, but nobody's gonna tell you that. Right wing again are going to celebrate, oh, red wave, as if it's something good. Somehow it's going to help the lives of their viewers, right? Liberals are going to talk about, oh, it's the end of democracy. It's the end of democracy. Oh, my goodness. The Democrats, they've gone too far left. That's what it is. I think this defund the police stuff, that's the reason why, right? And then you got the progressives going to go out there and say, oh, the Dems are weak. They ain't weak. They know exactly what they're doing. How is AOC weak when she gonna be selling books? She gonna be still making the money she's making. She's still gonna be having the power, the money, the fame. How is she weak? Right? Progressive media gonna say, oh, the Democrats, they're too afraid to fight. Fight for what? Why are they there? Power, money, fame. What are they gonna get from losing this election? Power, money, fame. Tell me where the money's going. Tell me what losing this election, how is that going to hurt AOC financially? How is that going to hurt Pelosi financially? How are they going to be hurting in terms of power? How is that a loss? The Democrats aren't going anywhere. Michael Gallup is in the house. I'm sure you have some wonderful comments, some very thoughtful comments here. You start out to criticize how people think simplistically that politicians only care about power. When you simplistically say, it's power and money, the lie you sell is government is the end all be all. Okay. In terms of just shouting 1%, okay, it's way more nuanced in terms of housing in certain areas. Tight and too much regulations are a lot responsible for high prices in areas. Okay. One of the reasons why these politicians play the games that they play, especially the Democrats, is because addressing issues that really are important issues in this country, it's complicated, it's not easy. That's why it's easy for the Republicans to just be the anti-party and just point fingers and tell us how much the Democrats suck, rather than focusing on solutions, right? Because actually fixing things that matter are complicated. It's easy to do some ban on CRT, right? That's why if you vote Republican, that's what you get. That's easy to do some fake bill that supposedly does something that's not really doing what you think it's doing. That's easy. To do something about wealth inequality and housing, those things are complicated, right? So the incentive for Democrats to really think seriously about how they can actually help these things or address these things, it's very low. Why bother go through the struggle of, you know, spending a lot of time coming up with solutions for these things for what reason? When you can just be on Twitter and saying stuff like, yeah, this and that, and now we got to do better, American people. Why go through the trouble of trying to solve difficult problems when it's much easier to just be a political influencer and just tweet online? So I say that to say you are bringing up valid points, right? I don't mean to oversimplify things. The housing crisis is caused by many, many things. On inventory, obviously, well, I did mention inventory, but you're talking about a different type of inventory. You're talking about regulation. So, you know, there is the fundamental supply and demand in terms of we have a finite amount of homes, right? That's just what it is. Like if we have 1,000 homes, physically 1,000 homes, that's it. That's all we have, right? So if you have 2,000 people that need homes, you have 1,000 homes. That's a problem, obviously. However, what I dealt with is a subset of that. So you have 2,000 people that need homes. You have only 1,000 homes. Then of that 1,000 homes, you have 500 homes that are available for rent, right? So for people that want to rent, you can't afford a home, you want to rent, you have 500 homes. You have 1,000 people that need to rent, and you only have 500 homes. And then from that 500, the Democrat policies are focusing only on the poor, right? Let's keep them from getting evicted and and just focus on that. That takes that 500 homes to maybe, let's say, 250. Obviously, I'm being a little bit extreme to make a point. So you have 500 homes available total for rent. And then over time, these homeowners keep getting screwed by these policies. They lose their homes in foreclosure. And then the message goes around. Like, I'll tell you right now, I'm talking to a lot of homeowners, and they're all terrified, right? Because I don't know any 1% homeowner, right? I don't know any corporate landlords, right? I know regular Americans who work really, really hard to be able to afford their homes, and they're trying to build some kind of financial security because they see how fragile our economy is. You can't really depend on your career, your job. You can't depend on the government, right? So they save up money and invest, try to get a home so they can have their own source of income. These are the people who I'm talking to, and they are absolutely terrified. They are losing their homes, or they're afraid of losing their homes. I'm afraid of losing my home. I just bought my home. And foreclosure is definitely a big threat for me. I do very, very well. There's no reason why I should be afraid of foreclosure. That's how bad the system is. To think about, to get to a level that I'm at and living well under my means, being very methodical in how I do things, saving a lot, doing all the right things you're supposed to do. If even I can be in a major risk of foreclosure and I just bought a home, think about just a regular American who, you know, you just get a little bit above poverty, just enough money that you could afford a little simple home, you know, single family. It's not the best area, it's not the worst area, right? Think about what they have to deal with. When I have everything going for me financially, and yet I just bought a home, right? And that's on some craziness. Some people, they get crazy. They buy something that's outside of their range, or they get and they go crazy. Like I'm gonna redo this and renovate this and whatever. I'm gonna invest all this money and get on this Airbnb boom, and then it ends up it's not really what you thought. No, doing things very methodically, taking my time, right? thinking about, the risks. Let me not do this because what if that happens? Let me make sure I have a reserve account. Like doing all that stuff. If I am hanging by a thread, what hope do people have who, you went from being poor to maybe you're getting, I don't know, 70,000 a year, 80,000 a year, something like that. What hope do you have with that kind of money? If someone who makes a lot more than that, I am hanging by a thread. 2/3 of my tenants are not paying. They haven't paid any money in 3 years. They didn't pay the last owner for a year. He concealed it from me. They haven't paid me anything. They basically run my house. They are home all day. They don't follow any rules. They don't care about the other tenants. They're just being complete assholes, right? And there's nothing I can do about it, right? That's where we're at in this country. So yes, there's more to it than just one thing. There's a lot of reasons why things are the way they are. But in this context, I was specifically addressing the election and the fantasy of like supposedly the Democrats losing when they're not really losing. The perception that people have of what's happening in this country versus what the reality is are completely different. Thanks for your comment on that. Madison Bum Gamer, good to see you, man. I can't believe the Dems can win today after what they've done for 2 years, although they may have recounts and win. No, I guess you just joined in. When I say win, I'm talking about win in a way that matters. Winning an election is irrelevant to the Democrats, right? AOC ain't going anywhere. Pelosi ain't going anywhere. Biden ain't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere, right? They're still going to have the money. They're still going to have the power. They're still going to have the influence. And that's a win because that's the whole point, right? They're not there for us. They're there for themselves. And they will continue to gain for themselves after this election. The only thing that they're getting from this election is going to be more gains, more gifts, right? Because now the Republicans are going to block anything they try to do so they can go on vacation. The Democrats are winning by a landslide a 2-year vacation because this is the end of Biden's presidency, right? Now they legitimately, so before they were pretending they couldn't do anything, now they actually can't do anything, which is a win because they don't want to do anything. They serve their corporate donors. Their corporate donors don't want them to do things that help working class people. So they are, and this is an amazing time for them right now, right? The donors will be happy, therefore the money will flow in, right? And then the rhetoric will be so much easier because the Republicans are about to do whatever craziness that they're going to do, that they always do, right? And then you're going to see all the Twitter fingers from AOC, oh, this and that, you guys didn't vote hard enough, and this and that, and you got to donate to us, donate, we're going to put a stop to this, right? That's what I call a win, right? That's what I call a win. When you think about their purpose, what they exist for, then you realize what's actually a win versus a loss. Democrats are not losing anything. They still gonna be making money. They still gonna have the power. They still gonna be scamming us. The only way, I've said this before, I'll say it again. The only way that the Democrats lose, right? And the same thing applies to Republicans. The only way, I mean, the dynamic's a little different, but fundamentally is a duopoly, right? These are two sides of the same coin. They operate together to serve the corporate class, right? The only way the Democrats lose is if the Republicans pull ahead aggressively. These kind of elections, if you see an election coming up and they're saying, well, it could go either way, Democrats could win, Republicans, that means the Democrats gonna win. Close elections mean the Democrats will win no matter what. These are the options. If you have a close election, these are the two options of what can happen for Democrats. Either things continue to be as complicated as they are in terms of all the excuse making, meaning if they win the election, the complication of playing the word salad in the games, and oh well, we can't do this, and things take time, and they got to continue doing that dance, that little eggshell dance, and the trickery and the manipulation of their base. If they win the election, that is their reward. More stress and aggravation of playing mind games to the millions of their base. If they lose slightly, their reward is they don't need to play any more games. In terms of they don't need to deal with that complication of eggshells. You can open it up and just say whatever. We're gonna $20 an hour nationally, right? We're gonna what else? We got a free healthcare. I want this bill. Biden says I want a free healthcare bill on my desk by next month. And they put together this bill, and they back and forth on the media, and oh, is this too far, and and right-wing media, oh, this is socialism, and the Democrats are crazy, and then back and forth for months, and we might have a deal, and Joe Manchin might block it, and this and that, and the healthcare thing, and this sounds great, and oh, this could be a great thing for Americans, and and it passed the House. Oh, yes, they passed the House. Right? It would depend on how the elections go, but they passed the House. All right. Free health care. Right? And then it goes to the Senate, and the Republicans, thumbs down. And then the Democrats get to say, well, guys, well, we tried. Those Republicans, maybe vote harder next time. I mean, look at all the hard work we did. We really pushed that. We were fighting for the American people, and we got everybody together, and we had some bipartisan support, and we reached across the aisle, and this and that. But on the final hour, the Republicans thumbs it down. Meh. That's easy, man. That's easy. You could just say whatever you want with no consequences. All the big talk, right? Your donors call you up, free healthcare. We don't want that. You say, don't worry about it, man. The Republicans are gonna block that, man. You focus on what you do. Let us do what we do. We know what we're doing. Our base is stupid. They really think that they get free healthcare. It's not gonna happen. Trust me. Guarantee the Republicans are gonna vote it down, right? So, but we know, this is politics. We need to keep the base energized and things like that. So give them some kind of hope. We don't have to get too depressed. These are Republicans. They're so evil. So we got to keep them. I got to keep them. But don't worry about it. It's no chance at all. This free healthcare thing. Don't worry. We're good. We're good. Wink, wink. Right. That's what the Democrats win if they lose this election. Right. Easy street. Easy street. Right? Imagine, apply it to your job. Imagine if at work you could get credit for all the biggest talk. Oh, that project with the 3-month deadline? I'm going to do that in a month and a half. Yeah, we're going to get that done in a month and a half. And your boss is like, yeah, man, you get a promotion. Good, I like that. I like you got some fire, right? And then when you make the proposal to some other force in the company, you say, yeah, we want to do this in a month. A month and a half? What are you, crazy? We need more time. And then you go back to the manager and you say, well, I wanted to do it in a month and a half, and I think we could have done it, but those other guys, the project approval team, those guys, they're holding us back. Right? You should promote us. We would do a better job. We would be like month and a half. But we tried. We tried. Imagine, man. How much promotions could you get if that's how your job was? Right? How much promotion? You work at Apple. You say to your boss, hey, listen, man. I know the initial goal was we want to sell 1 million, I almost said iPods. We're going to sell 1 million iPhones the third quarter. Right? Well, I think we could do 3 million. Let's triple that. And your boss is like, wow, you got some fire. Promotion for you. You get promoted, man. I like you, man. You're gonna get us 3 million iPhones sold in just 1 quarter? Man, you real good, right? And then you go to the approval, the project management team, and you say, hey, we're trying to do 3 million iPhones by the first quarter, right? That's the plan. I'm like, what? 3 million? What? Hell no, that's too much. We're gonna do 1 million. We're gonna do 1 million. 3 million is too much. You go back to your boss. Hey, boss, I wanted to do 3 million. that was my plan, right? Remember you promoted me for that? Remember you said I was good job, right? You like my motivation? That was my idea, and we could do it, and I was gonna do it. But the project management team, they told me we can't do it, so now we gotta do it once. I tried, right? That's what the Democrats are gonna win by losing this election, right? They get to play the American people for fools, right? A bunch of fake bills and fake rhetoric that they know will get blocked. They grinning behind the scenes with their corporate donors while pretending to fight. Yeah, we're gonna do better, American people. But they just didn't vote hard enough. Next time they gotta vote harder. That's what it is. It's the voters' fault. Now the voters do have some part to blame. And that's one thing I think that is liberating for me, not being in the echo chamber, not being loyal to any tribe. For me, being like, I'm not here for money, not here for fame. So I can completely ignore the algorithm. I can completely ignore what the popular rhetoric is. So for example, people that would align with my, whatever you want to call it, ideology, whatever the things that I would like, they would be very much against what they call vote shaming. I don't give a fuck. I will vote shame, right? I will vote shame, right? I don't care if that doesn't sound right, or okay, you vote shame. Like, that's not the thing to do, right? The principal thing is like, no, we can't shame the voters. We got to just focus on the politicians and the elites. No. I believe in two to tango. I put most of the blame on the elites, most of the blame on the politicians and the media who's manipulating people. I do understand that a lot of people are just operating based on the information that they're receiving. I understand and appreciate that. That's why I put most of my focus on the elites. But I'm not gonna put the voters like off the hook. Like, we have the capacity to think for ourselves. We have the capacity to do our own research, right? We have the capacity to be curious and to try to learn, like, how do I know the things that I know about all these games and schemes that these politicians play? Because I had the curiosity. I saw stuff that didn't make sense. I had a curiosity to learn about them. Pay attention, observe, and research. And other people have that ability as well. And I recognize that I have certain attributes that make that easier for me. I do recognize that. But the bottom line is, I don't look at people as just like completely useless. Like you just like, you have no choice but just to accept whatever narrative, is coming from, whatever tribe you're in. Or, I'm sorry, man. I believe in two to tango. I have the same principle on the road. That's something like, I'm a motorcycle rider, and a lot of motorcyclists like to just point fingers when it comes to accidents. Now, we are definitely a target of a lot of people who aren't paying attention. Our vehicles are smaller. They don't see us. You have people that are texting while they're driving, and a lot of stuff that puts our lives in danger. But motorcyclists also put their lives in danger as well. In order for someone to be able to hit a motorcyclist, the motorcyclist needs to first be in a position to be hit in the first place, right? I believe in defensive driving, defensive riding, right? You study what the threats are, and you avoid being in a position where someone could hit you in the first place, right? I believe in accountability. So yes, I could see some driver wasn't paying attention and they hit you. I put most of the blame on that person, but I also put blame on the rider as well for being in that position to be hit in the first place. That is the way I see things, right? So when I look at the problems in this country, I'm not just going to focus only on the elites and the Republicans and the Democrats. I'm going to also look at the voters, right? And if people want to say, oh, I'm vote shaming and you're not supposed to vote shame, I don't give a fuck. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm not trying to be anybody's friend. I'm not trying to make people feel good. I'm not trying to shield you from uncomfortable truths. I'm here to give you the raw truth and reality of what's happening in this country. So, yes, to some degree, the voters are also to blame, right? And for the certain tribe that doesn't agree with that, no, you shouldn't do that, I don't give a rat's ass. Anyway, let me read some of the comments before I jump out. Good to see you, Jock. Jock is in the house. You're all over the place, man. Oh, man. Most jobs don't have filibusters. Yeah, that's a good point. The private sector doesn't have Ted Cruz, Richard Taylor Green, Jim Jordan throwing money wrenches in projects. True stuff, man. Serious question. Full disclosure. I despise Biden. What are your bigger criticisms of Joe Biden? I ask because I don't think most people know how disgraceful he is. Good question. 1 second. Yo, Debate Me channel is like a Democratic Party shill. One of his subscribers asked him about Joe Biden, and he just ended the live stream. The guy's a phony, man. Anyway, my criticisms of Biden. The reason why I have to pause and think is because I have such little respect for Joe Biden, and I realize too much what he represents and what he's about, that I honestly don't pay that much attention to Joe Biden. Like, when I see, Joe Biden showing up in my Twitter feed or, on YouTube, Joe Biden speaks about whatever. I mean, it's not as bad as Pelosi, but I'm like repulsed, and I'm just like, I don't really. He's a bullshitter, right? It's like I don't really care what he has to say. It's kind of, I mean, Trump is to another level on that, but it's kind of the same kind of thing with Trump. Oh, Trump made some announcement, like. But with that being said, so that's the hesitation for me, because it's not something I spend a lot of time thinking about. I just look at him as he's the fraud. He represents everything wrong with the Democratic Party, right? So yeah. That being said, the problem with Joe Biden is that Joe Biden is a liar and a fraud. He serves the donor class, right? So the key Democrat Party strategy is progressive rhetoric, right? Conservative rule, right? With some exceptions, of course. A right-winger hearing that would say, oh, lockdowns. Who was president when the lockdown started? But anyway, overall, they rule conservatively, but they talk a lot of progressive rhetoric, right? They're funding the police. Their border policies are Trump's border policies. They didn't really change them, right? I think some of the stuff they tried to change in the border, they reverted right back to what Trump was doing, right? So they're doing the same bullshit Trump was doing on the border. They're giving more money for the police, more police, right? So what they actually do is conservative, right? The stuff that the Republicans want is what the Democrats are doing mostly. Unless the polls get so low and so bad that they get desperate that they need to actually do a little something here. All that progressive rhetoric is not enough anymore. So in that moment, you might see them actually do some progressive stuff, like try to forgive student loan debt and whatever else that Biden did in the final hour. But keep in mind, when you see him making these moves, remember what I told you before, how the scheme works, right? Will he actually be able to forgive the student loan debt? Like right now it's being challenged, right? Remember, a key Democrat scheme is to use the aggressive rhetoric. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. The American people deserve better. But then you don't actually deliver on that stuff. You just talk the talk, but you don't walk the walk. So the idea of saying we're going to forgive student loan debt, but then dragging your feet or doing it in a certain way where you know that it's not going to actually make it through, but then you get the credit for actually trying, right? Um, so I think that those are the fundamental problems that I have with Joe Biden. Because you look at Joe Biden on the campaign trail, all that progressive rhetoric and all that big talk, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Even the money, like they're very basic. He said he's gonna give us the $2,000 check, didn't deliver on it. Like he will lie to the voters, promise you're gonna do this and we gotta do that, and pretend he's on your side, and then screw them over immediately once he gets into power. And then continue to play the voters as fools, where he said one thing, now he's doing something else, and now he's going to try to gaslight you into thinking that he's not doing exactly what he's doing. So I think I did an analogy of Republicans versus Democrats, and I think this is perfect for our discussion about Joe Biden, where I think in the analogy I had, it was a lot of gang culture, and you had one gang that was out there slaughtering people, basically fair mongering. Remember Sopranos, right? You got to pay money so that nothing happens to your business, right? So one gang is out there ruling with fear, and then you have the younger, more extreme parts of that gang that are taking over the gang and basically absorbing all the power and leading that gang to be more extreme. The gang itself is out there killing people. The new members are killing entire families. The other gang, their whole scheme is pretending to be the good guys. But what they do is they will sit there and watch an entire family being slaughtered and do nothing about it. And then jump in at the last minute and say, oh, look what these evil gangsters are doing. Oh my goodness. You guys need to support us so we can fight back against these evil gangsters who are killing all of our families. But it gets worse than that. They might go over to the scene, the bloody scene of this family being slaughtered by this other gang, right? And this gang who plays the good guy might go over there, and just before they make their announcement of, oh, look what they're doing, might recognize that a couple family members, maybe a child, a wife, is actually still alive. However, being able to report on the complete slaughter of an entire family, 5 people dead, is more powerful to motivate support in terms of we support us so we can save you against these savages, right? It's more powerful a message to say an entire family got slaughtered, 5 people got killed. That's more powerful than saying 3 people got killed, 2 survivors. So this other gang, although they aren't out there looking to slaughter families, all they did is sit by and watch. Some of them might actually go and help finish off the 2 that didn't actually get killed. Take out that child, take out that wife, all so that you have a more scary thing to point out, right? It's more scary to say they killed the whole family than they killed 4 and 2 survived. That is the dynamic we have between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And I think most of you can figure which one is which in my analogy. Joe Biden will sit by and watch Americans suffer and do nothing, and might even do things to make things look even worse so that he can weaponize the damage that his political opponents are doing for his own personal gain. We have the power to protect women's rights, and we claim that's what we're about. However, allowing the Republicans to make progress and potentially one day overturn some of these rights is a very powerful card to always have on your side. So rather than delivering for the American people, you can fairmonger about, oh, they're going to take away your rights. That is the Democrats finishing off the 2 survivors. Right? So not only are we going to sit by and watch a family be taken out, but we're going to also help this process along, because we benefit from the destruction being caused by our political opponents, because we can weaponize it and say, listen, we may not do all the things you want us to do, but we're not as bad as those guys. Right. That's the scam. So those are my problems with Joe Biden. I honestly feel that he will knowingly sit by and allow Americans to suffer, and I'm talking about death, pain, and suffering, including death, knowing that his inaction can lead to that, and he's perfectly comfortable doing that. Because, like most of our politicians, all they care about is themselves. I don't know if sociopath is the right word, or psychopath, some would say, but I believe that those terms probably apply to most of our politicians. They are completely divorced from the reality and the pain and suffering of Americans. It's all about themselves. Republicans and Democrats, all about themselves. The media, independent especially, and corporate, all about themselves, all about clicks, all about their fame, all about their money. I know that if I don't report on certain things and I only report on other things, the result of that, by misinforming my audience, by creating this blind spot, can lead to things like war, pain, suffering, death. I know this, but I don't give a fuck, because I'm going to get more views, more clicks, more money, more fame, and I'm going to be okay. I don't got to worry about healthcare. I don't got to worry about inequality. I don't got to worry about none of this stuff. I'm about to buy another mansion, right? I got my healthcare. I got all the stuff. I'm good. So the fact that my content being so biased and one-sided can lead to pain and suffering and even death of my viewers, who cares? Savages. American media. Savages. American politicians. You guys know I don't mince words here. I'm gonna tell it like it is. I always tell it like it is. Have you heard about this racial jungle argument against integrating schools? I have not. I don't know why I did it. I know I never heard of that, so I don't know why I did that. Getting old. I can't accept your analysis about the system that doesn't budge. Not true about Biden. Your destructive duopoly is too much. Both sidesism. Oh man, you've had good takes, but this one on Biden just has no merit. Too many hypotheticals. You may feel that way, but that is the beauty of being genuine, right? I don't have to worry about how people feel about my takes. You can agree with my takes, disagree with my takes. It really doesn't matter. Now, I'm human. Obviously, who wouldn't like people to agree with them? Obviously, people agreeing with you feels better than people disagreeing with you. But ultimately, it's inconsequential. If you're doing this for a business, that is not the case. Even those who have, I got Patreon, right? I got my subscribers are funding me directly, so I don't have to worry about I could say whatever. Really? So if you're not giving the algorithm what the algorithm wants, and your content starts getting suppressed, so no one sees your videos, so you have people that are paying you money monthly, and then a year goes by and they don't watch a single video of yours because your videos don't show up anymore. And then one day they're budgeting and they look at their account and they see this thing that they've been sending you donations, and they're like, I haven't watched this guy in a year. Why am I giving him money and I don't watch him? As long as your business model is reliant on traffic and clicks, you could get all the, subscription based, whatever that you want. You are going to be somewhat a slave to the algorithm and to your audience. Because if you're not putting out the content they want to hear or that the algorithm wants, you will get suppressed. And if you are suppressed, you're not going to be able to maintain people donating to you. People are not going to be donating to you if they're not watching you. And they only watch you because the algorithm allows them to, right? The stuff that I'm putting out here there isn't a huge market for this. So the algorithm is not going to give me any love. Now, people talk about suppression all the time, but you want the biggest suppression? Do what I'm doing, right? This website is a business, and the business is all about maximizing attention. So it targets markets. There's a market for people that, anti-liberal content. A lot of people love that. So if you're putting that out, the algorithm is going to support that because it knows that there's a whole bunch of people that will highly engage with that content. If you're doing nothing but anti-Trump every day, algorithm knows there's a huge market of people who love that stuff. So by promoting you, it's going to get to people that will highly engage with it, which is the whole point. But if you're like me, just telling it like it is, not loyal to any tribe, right? There just isn't a massive market at all. There's only a tiny market for this type of content. So the algorithm is going to completely ignore me, right? But I have the freedom to basically be completely genuine and say what I truly believe. And I can be wrong about things. I'm not going to be right on everything. But the bottom line is I will always be genuine, right? Unlike a lot of these content creators who will say stuff just for clicks, I'm not going to do that. I think I've proven myself. I'm not going to call any names, but I've turned away some of my top subscribers, highly engaged, really love my content, all because I refuse to back down from what I believe. Right? I refuse to do the content that's going to get me the most clicks and let the channel grow. I refuse, even at the expense of turning away people that absolutely love the content and have done a lot to help me grow, right? Knowing that it would damage my content if I allowed certain people to be turned away, but yet I refused. And I will continue to do so, right? It is what it is. I don't need any prizes. I don't need any fame. I don't need any clicks. Is he rooting for the dark side again? Oh, man. Andrew, jumping in at the last minute. You missed out everything. Way back in 1977, that sounds like a rock. Way back in 1977, he said that forced business busing to desegregate. Okay, that's not a good line. Schools would cause children to grow up in racial jungle. Joe Biden. Joe Biden, Madison bum gamer, you ain't black. I appreciate the support, Jock. And I appreciate that I feel like for whatever reason you're one of the uniquely able people to tolerate, because I know you really don't agree with when I go after the squad and how I feel about AOC, and that stuff that you will really, really strongly push back, but yet you have been you've been able to handle that. I mean, you will stand your ground and tell me how you feel that I'm wrong about stuff, but I don't think I've ever got the feeling that one day I'm gonna go too far and you're gonna run off. I mean, obviously, I am creating content, and the point is consumption in terms of people come to whether it's entertainment value or just you find the topics are interesting. So there's no guarantee that anyone will always find the content to be interesting, right? Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with me, you may at some point maybe find it repetitive, or you're just not that interested in politics, um, right? But outside of that, I feel like if you ever run off from my channel, it'll be because you're not interested in this type of content anymore, or you're just not on YouTube that much, or something like that. But I don't really feel that I could ever run you off because I went too hard on AOC. Like, the harder I go on people like her, the more you'll push back. But that's just it. You're just gonna tell me how you feel that I'm wrong. You'll share your views, but I guess the point is that you're. I don't feel like you're the person to hide from uncomfortable, I'm gonna say, truths, because obviously from your perspective you don't feel that what I'm saying is true, that you disagree with. But um, stuff that disagrees with what you believe is not something that makes you feel like, oh, I'm gonna, I don't want to hear this. This guy is crap. I think Andrew, I feel similarly as well, because obviously I have definitely called out a lot of conservatives and right wing stuff, and I know we definitely don't agree on a lot of things, but Andrew has been here for quite some time. I respect and appreciate that. But you guys are a small minority, man. Most people, they. I mean, of course, you have hate watchers. I certainly have some hate watchers. I have a few of them who. That's a whole different realm, right? You watch someone who, you adamantly disagree with, and it's just kind of like, I don't know what they get out of that, but that's a thing. I've seen people do that for other types of content as well. They hate someone or they hate their content, and yet they just keep coming back, and it's like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't block anyone. I let people say what they want to say. Um, but as far as people who genuinely have a curiosity or interest in the content, like, you're in a very, very small group, because an overwhelming majority, once I start going in on things that are close to your ideology, that's where it's like, all right, this is too much. You will love when I go against your political opponents. If you're on the left, you love when I say, oh, the right wingers this and conservative that. You're like, yeah, yeah. And then when I say progressives are a fraud, you're like, oh, man, this guy's a shit lib. All right? And then vice versa. Right? Love it when I go, oh, left-wing media, this, that, that. You're like, yeah, man. And the minute I say right-wing media is trash, man, oh, they trash. They're not as bad as the left. The left is straight up lies, the right-wing, they're just biased. They're just biased, that's all. Right? The left, they're the ones, they're race war. Right? That's most people. You can come and be like, you know what? You are very wrong about conservatives. You don't really understand the conservative movement. You are so wrong. And then, man, oh man, you going after the Republican Party. I'm voting for them, but but they still will enjoy the content, right? And they will enjoy it even more when I go and I say, oh, those Democrats and the liberals, they like that, right? But that's a very, very small group. Most people ain't got time. They just want to come in and get validated every day. Oh, the left, they're the good ones, and the right, they're evil, right? Or every day. And the liberals, all these liberals. That's what most people want. Sorry, guys. If that's what you want, you're not going to get it here. And by the way, Madison, I was born a year before Joe Biden said whatever you said he said, man. How you like them apples? I work for a living. Goddamn, Andrew. Andrew said, hey, he got a job. I got a job to do. I got time to be on YouTube all day, man. I gotta pay these. Have you seen these goddamn gas prices? You're too damn entertaining indeed. Some would disagree with that one. I like his work because it's genuine and human, and I admire the amount of effort he puts into it. I appreciate that, Andrew, because it's funny you say that, right? Let's continue that integrity here, right? I would like to just agree with you. Um, well, I guess I can't read your mind. I don't know what you mean by the amount of work. It's certainly been a lot of work. I am super, super busy. I got so many things going on. You guys know I'm dealing with this crisis with this home. Um, I mean, I'm in a process where I could actually lose my home. This is major, major crisis. So spending all this time on YouTube, not making any money, and then I'm not a social media. That's the thing. It's like a lot of people they'll try to judge me by the standards of other people, but I'm a weirdo, right? I'm a weirdo. So when you make these assumptions or ideas about me, you're gonna get wrong because you're basing it on your experiences with other people. So for example, I'm really not a social media person. Like in reality, when social media started booming, I think it was like around like Facebook, and then it was MySpace and then Facebook. I was kind of like, what is this? Who wants to know that? Oh, I went to a restaurant. Like, why is anybody gonna be interested to know I went to some restaurant? Why am I gonna waste time trying to maintain a following? I'm like, what? I ain't got time for that. So I let this stuff grow, and everybody was doing it. Everybody was on Facebook and this and that, and I was just kind of like, that's stupid, right? That was the same attitude I had with texting. When you used to text with a number keys, and it was like you had to press a key 3 times to get a letter. Remember those days? I thought that was so stupid. I was just like, I ain't got time. I'm not gonna sit here pressing one key, to get T, and then to get E. Like, I ain't got time, man. I'm gonna call you, man. I ain't got time to sit there doing that. I rejected it. I completely rejected it. Even now that we have better technology, I still don't text. What I do, I mean, I text technically, but what I do is I do voice to text. So even in 2022, I still reject it, right? It's just the tiny keys, and it's annoying. I want a real keyboard. I want to type on a real keyboard, man. Maybe that's a boomer thing, whatever you want to call it, but I just don't have time, and I completely reject it. So most of my stuff when I write online, and that's on YouTube as well. So I apologize for the typos, but most of my stuff is voice to text a lot of times. So that's how I was with social media. Then eventually I said, all right, let me give it a chance since everybody's doing it. They saying it's great, whatever. I got quickly annoyed and I abandoned it. Now I'm on social media for the benefit of others, right? I don't have like a personal social media account that I'm posting like, hey, look what's going on in my life, whatever. If I want to say something to a family member, I text them directly. I contact them directly, right? But in general, I'm not a big person to like, oh, look this, that. Like, for example, when I bought, hey, rich people, whatever. But when I bought my first Porsche, I didn't tell anyone, not even my own father, which some would say that's kind of like, oh, a father wants to be proud. But I don't know. It's just like I don't need to like show off like what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I've never been big on social media. So I'm not a person who is, wants validation, or I'm big on the clicks or whatever. Now, clicks matter here because I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to share a message, and obviously, I want more people to see it. But I'm not willing to violate my integrity to get the bigger following. But that being said, I do spend a lot of time on YouTube, time that I don't have, late nights, weekends, as a person who's extremely busy, because it means that much to me in terms of the message that I'm conveying, helping people, getting people to think critically, getting people to pull outside of their echo chamber. Like, that actually really means something to me. That's why, and I'm a big believer, I've always been this way. We have a short life. Life is very, very short. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the things that have been very important to my success in life and with my career. Is from I was very young, I had this attitude of life is short, right? So I was never just kind of like hanging out or whatever and like, oh, I'll get to it. I always had this sense of like, gotta get it done. I gotta build something. I don't want to ever have to struggle. And I saw my parents struggle, and I see what it's like to not be able to pay your bills, and that was something I always was like on my back, and that pushed me, right? So I'm still the same way now. So the idea of spending all this time on YouTube, I'm not making any money doing it. The channel's never going to be big. Like, what am I getting out of this? Not getting any money. I'm not going to be famous from this, right? It's not validation. If I wanted validation, I would have a personal social media account and I would be putting stuff out. Look at me, look what I'm doing. Like, I don't do that. I'm not interested in the validation. Um, this is purely for the benefit of the audience. But I really do not put nearly enough effort into my videos as I should in terms of to get the message across. You know, you got to be sensitive to people's time. People are busy as well, right? So you want to get to the point. You want to be concise. You want to be efficient. Sometimes I will run my videos on too long, and I just don't have the time to do this aggressive editing. And I'm not going to go and spend money hiring an editor for something I'm not making any money doing. In the future, I'm actually thinking about investing my own money just because it is this important to me that I may do that. But with me doing everything myself, I just don't have the time to do things the way that they really should be done. Like, I could be much more effective in conveying the message that I'm putting out there. My points could be made much better in a much more concise way. You know, if I you know, was willing to spend that time, but I just don't. The time that I'm spending is already too much, as it is. So I appreciate you saying that you appreciate the work that I'm putting into it. And maybe you're looking at it just as a matter of the time commitment, but in terms of like the level of effort, I'm well below what it should be. But it's just, again, it's like I use borrowed time to do this. Like, this is I don't have the time to be spending doing all these videos when I have like for example. So let's just let you know how crazy it is. So I'm in a situation right now where 2/3 of my tenants are not paying me any rent, and I am being buried financially because of this right now. I can lose my home as a result, right? And my attorney has given me the notices to give to the tenants about the eviction. That starts the process, right? All I need to do is transcribe it and change the address that he put on there and give it to them. And I was supposed to do that days ago. In fact, I was supposed to do it before the end of last month because the way the system works, like I lose a month or something. I don't know how it works, but that's like bad. And I haven't done that. All this time that I've been spending doing these videos is time that I could have gotten that done. So I am in a financial crisis right now, and I'm still finding time to be doing videos where I'm not making any money. It's not about validation or whatever. Like, what am I getting out of it? That's where I'm at, right? So I appreciate the sentiment, but really, really, like, my 10-minute videos should be 5 minutes, right? My 10-minute videos should easily be 5 minutes with, you know, music and, you know, a lot of like reference, like maybe photos and stuff, or just different images to get the point across, make it more clear, make it more interesting. Some people will love the content as it is. Others would need a little bit more, right? And I'm going to turn those away. They'll get bored, stuff like that. Like, I could make a better product, but it's just, I'm already spending too much time doing it, right? But again, I do appreciate the sentiment. Just keeping it real. You're one of the few that will not change your view until the proof of measurable change is undeniable. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And a critical thing is I'm willing to change my views. Like, this, where I'm at now is a result of years and years of being questioned and things. Like, for example, I for years I didn't know about juice, right? I used to drink juice. I was a big juice guy. I'm like, juice is healthy, right? I'm drinking all this cranberry juice and orange juice, and I'm just like, to my heart's content, because I'm thinking it's juice, it's from fruits, it's natural, right? And then a coworker was like, yo, man, you know how much sugar is in that? All right? So do I just like reject them? Like, what are you talking about? It's juice. It's a fruit. It's natural. No, I stopped and I thought, like, what's he talking about the sugar thing? I didn't know about sugar either. Sorry to say, whatever happened to my education, I didn't get the message about sugar. I'm sure they talk about it in school, but I didn't get the message, whatever. But I didn't get the idea. I don't know. I wasn't really focused on like sugar being an issue. Then I started looking into, started researching it. I started to realize the damage of sugar and how we get addicted to it. And also, these fruit juices, like especially cranberry juice, the content, I think the amount of sugar in some of these cranberries are like greater than like some sodas, right? So if someone questions me and says like, hey, something you believe is incorrect, and they can present sufficient evidence, like I'm more than willing to change. And a lot of stuff, like, look, I come from a religious family, right? My father was a minister, right? Heavily religious, man. I've been to so much church, right? And I bought into a lot of that stuff. I bought into the anti-gay stuff. I think I shared with you guys an emotional story. I did my Jordan Peterson story where, um, I mean, it really, that was like genuine. It's like I was so anti-gay when I was young that I got aggressive with a total stranger as a teenager, 17, 18 years old, just because the guy looked at me and I thought he looked like he might be gay and he might be like checking me out. And that was such a, and that's what you call like, we call it phobic. What's it? They say you're homophobic. That's definitely homophobia because it's like the guy didn't do anything and he looked at me like, why am I so bothered? But that's the thing. I grew up on this culture of, gay is like evil and satanic and it's sick and disgusting. And so this guy looks like he's one of these sick, disgusting people, and it's just like repulsive to me, right? But over time, I was exposed to different views and people presenting, hey, this stuff that you believe might not actually be the truth. And they say, this is why we think that your views are incorrect. And I listen to them and I say, wait a minute, you got some points there. And then I do my own research and I dig into it myself. And then I say, man, you know what? I am wrong on this. And I start to change myself. And over time, I learn more and more. And, things like that are what put me on the trajectory to the person I am today, which is completely different than I used to be. I mean, so many different aspects of my life, man. Even you get into like dating. I mean, my view coming from a religious family. I mean, I had this ridiculous idea, like I was basically looking for a church girl who, like, she's a church girl, but then she's like a freak in the sheets. Like I had this crazy idea. I wanted somehow you're gonna be fun and free, but you on this like religious values, whatever. Um, and because of that, that's probably one of the many reasons that led me to being a single guy at this age. Is I turned away a lot of women because I had this vision of how women are supposed to behave and all that kind of stuff, and I would reject so many women. And look at one of my best relationships I ever had. Like I would never have dated someone like that when I was younger because of these religious beliefs and how I was thinking. But over time, I got presented with different opinions, different views, that allowed me to question how I was doing things. And I adjusted and changed, and I'm still doing it. I don't know everything. I haven't figured everything out. I'm still figuring things out. You know. Um, so people may feel like I'm set in my ways or whatever, but I'm not. Now I'm out of sync, man. Now you're saying something. I don't know what you said. That's what I want. I don't know what you. You're too afraid. Let's see. I get that. Andrew says, thank you. I don't need validation from anyone except my dog wife. Oh, you do know your wife is watching over your shoulder right now, right? Weird but sane. I only need validation from my cooking. We got a chef in the house. You are what you eat. Oh yeah, I remember those commercials too. There was some commercials where people walk in and they had like these donuts on their butts. Remember those commercials? I don't even know what the product was. I don't know what the product was. I just remember the commercial. They're walking and they put donuts on their butts. I can't imagine what they were selling. I guess something healthy, a health food, gym membership. I don't know. Andrew says I'm the pussy. Oh, he took it there. Life is short. Last week I was 21. Now I'm pushing 50. Yeah, man, that's crazy. That is definitely crazy. Um, that's one thing that I wish I was wrong about. I mean, I think I'm thankful that I got that early. Early. I mean, I think around 16 is where I started to wake up in terms of taking responsibility, and you gotta you're gonna leave your family, your parents home, and you're gonna have to take care of yourself. You need a career, you need a job, you need a way to sustain yourself, right? I was goofing around before that. I started out serious when I was really young in school, doing really, really well. And then I think somewhere around fifth, sixth grade, definitely junior high, I just got into this goofball mode of just like hanging out with the wrong company. I mean, the worst of the worst in school, all dead or in jail at this point. But at 16, I woke up and I was like, whoa, I got woke. I got woke at 16. I was like, I got to start taking school seriously, man, because, um, I'm complaining about my father and his rules. He's very, very strict, very, very religious, right? But then what you going to do, when you're an adult, you're gonna stay in your father's home and be butting heads. You need to pay attention to school so you can get a job, so you can take care of yourself, so you can get out and be independent and do your own thing, right? Um, but definitely, right after high school, I got right into the workforce, then the military, and the whole while it's like this aggression of like, let's get it done. Time is ticking. Um, if not for that, I can't imagine. Because, for example, way back, I used to do like what do you call, like IT stuff, like help desk stuff, and because I was moving so quickly, I was able to escape a major implosion in that industry. Because when I started, computers were kind of a new thing in homes. A lot of people were computer literate. So if you had basic computer skills, that was high value, right? If I was just chilling and hanging out, then I would have been like, this, I was making good money from early years, right? Doing this technology stuff. If I just kind of sat back and like relaxed, then when things imploded, I would have imploded with it. But fortunately, I never stopped. I kept trying to strive for more, trying to learn more and develop more skills. So I got myself out of that very basic realm that I was in the beginning into more specialty stuff. And then when things imploded, I already had left that world, right? So it is that sense of urgency again that saved me from that and many other things. Um, but unfortunately, a lot of people they feel like tomorrow is promised. I never felt that way, man. I don't know what got me on that tangent of like this life is short. But I got that message somehow, some way, and thank goodness. Sugar is quite destructive to one's health. It's like cocaine. Not everyone that is against the gay lifestyle is homophobic or fearful or gay people. Some people just think it's wrong. Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from more. I don't know what the term is. Fundamental. I mean, the the upbringing that I had is on the more extreme side. I mean, my parents were not. I mean, they're good people, very loving people. Um, Unfortunately, their religious beliefs, had some hate in there, but my parents were definitely not hateful at all. And that's not just me as a child saying that. I mean, uh, they they were well liked by the community, not just in terms of like religious community, but in the neighborhood, at work, um, you know. So a lot of positive feedback to them. So they were good people, but unfortunately, they were very very strict and hardcore, and this whole gay is evil stuff, and it's. I think I might actually be painting an inaccurate picture of them because now I think about it, I would say they were more hardcore and extreme in their views. Now, based on where I'm at in life in terms of my views now, because their stuff is pretty radical and pretty hateful, but I think it fits with run of the mill, you know, um, you know, I don't know what the word is. Christian fundamentalists or whatever. I don't know what the terminology is. I'm so far away from that stuff at this point in my life. But I don't think they're that extreme because for example, to me extreme is like those guys, that church. What that church was that was like going and protesting funerals. Remember the crazy church? Was it Baptist something Baptist Westboro Baptist or something? Like they weren't on that level. Like I wouldn't see like my parents are not gonna go and harass people. They're not gonna go and protest at someone's funeral. They're not gonna call people names. Like they're not like my father's not gonna go and say, hey you faggots or something like that. Like he's not gonna do stuff like that. That he had hateful views, but he wouldn't be hateful to people, right? He wouldn't hire you if you're gay. He would struggle to accept you as a family member if you're gay. He wouldn't be friends with you if you're gay. He would turn away from you and reject you. But he's not gonna do harm to you, direct harm. Like he's not going to do something other than like he wouldn't hire you. Like you're good at the job and you're getting discriminated against because of your sexuality. I mean, he would harm you indirectly in that way, but he wouldn't go out and directly attack people. So he's not on that level. Like you have people out there who will go out there and use hateful language and do things directly. Like they weren't on that level. And I don't know how I got on that tangent, but this is a Debate Me channel live stream. What you expect, man? I appreciate it, brother. Remember, DOS. Oh, man. MS-DOS 5.0. Do I remember DOS? Listen, man. One of the biggest things that made me successful in life was the $1,000 that my parents spent in 1999 to buy a Tandy TLX. Oh man, I'm getting old now. TLR 1000, I think it was. It was an 8286 computer by Tandy. You buy in Radio Shack. It had a 40 megabyte hard drive, 3.5 inch floppy drive. It had probably like a what were the screen sizes back then? Probably like a 14 inch VGA monitor, VGA color. There's so many colors, right? 1 megabyte of RAM, and that's because that's all we could afford. And even that, we were fortunate enough to be even afford any computer at all. Like spending $1,000 on a computer, like obviously that's at a point where my family had gotten to a point where they could afford that. Like they worked their way up. Like we used to live not too far from the projects, right? People kept breaking into our home. We were living next to a lagoon. Cows used to break into our yard, right? I almost died one day playing in the lagoon in a boat with a hole. My sister pushing me out with a rope that's rotting. Like, that's where we used to be. But my father worked hard. He went to school. He got his degree. He worked his way up through the school. And we got to a point later in life where they could afford that 1000 RLX 1000 Tandy computer. I know that wasn't easy for them to do that. That was a sacrifice. But they spent that money. That one purchase alone was a major defining factor for my entire life. And also, ironically, the poverty side. Like we weren't at that point. You can't. I definitely wouldn't consider us still poor at that point. You're not. If you spend $1,000 on a computer, I don't think you're poor anymore. But we certainly weren't rich, and there was certainly. Like, for example, case in point. At the time that we bought a 286, 386 and 486, those are the next two levels. Those were already out. People that were really doing well, I'm not talking about rich people. I'm talking like upper middle. Like, they're getting the 386 and 486. They're running Windows, the initial Windows versions back then, right? We didn't have money like that. So even though it was still a lot of money to spend on the computer, that was the one that you got when you just barely have enough to get any computer at all. So you get the most basic one. But the point of that was, since it was so slow, I couldn't run a lot of the games I wanted to play, and I couldn't run a lot of the software I wanted to run. So since it wasn't just a matter of like, hey, we could just buy a more expensive computer, I had to work with what I had. That is where I gained a lot of my skills. I studied, I got books, and I learned, and I mastered the computer. I figured out every trick in the book and how to maximize the performance. Just like you see guys with cars, they'll rebuild the engine and change the exhaust and all this kind of stuff. That was me with computers. And the whole point was that we didn't have enough money to get the nicer computers to run the stuff I wanted to. So I basically sort of souped up my computer by, in a way, not by adding things, because I didn't have money for that, but by maximizing what I did have, like trimming the fat, getting rid of stuff that was slowing it down and allowing it to run more efficiently. And I actually was able to run Windows barely on that computer, and I wasn't supposed to be running. Like, a 286 was not, like, you needed a higher computer for that. That was not the minimum requirement for Windows. But that I was able to pull it off at all is a testament to what I learned. And when I became an adult, I was so proficient with computers that I remember my first interview that I had for a computer job, and it was a joke to me. I'm like, this stuff, like, I do this for fun, right? And I got the job just like that, like my first job. And that's all going back to that computer that my parents sacrificed and bought for me. They believed in me, and they made that sacrifice. They try to get me into something that I was, get me something that I'm interested in, to get me to focus on and build something from it. And my entire life, like, that was a major thing. Not saying I wouldn't have figured things out other ways, but that was a big step in my future success. Who would have known? Who would have known? All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. I remember Tandy by Radio Shack. Yeah, man, I used to live in that store. You went to see Wild Church, Etla Ministries out in Harlem, run by James David Manning. That guy is fired, but YouTube has put a leash on him. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is, man. I remember the Commodore. Yeah, Commodore 64. And the almighty super mega powerful VIC-20. I don't know what that is. Amiga, I remember that for sure. When memory was chips instead of DEMs. Yeah, man, that's the good old days. And on that note, this is the Debate Me channel. Debate Me in the comment section below. Click the like button, subscribe, smash that bell, be well. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate the support from you guys. And like I said, the Democrats are going to win because they're not going anywhere. AOC is going to be in power. Joe Biden's going to be in power. They're still going to be making money. They're still going to have the power. They're still going to be building up their followers online. And now they get to go on vacation for 2 years, right? That's going to be the result of the election. But no one is going to realize that. Everyone's going to get caught up in, right wing is caught up in, red wave. And the left wing is focused on, these Dems, they're afraid, they're weak. Oh my goodness, the slaughter. Democracy is lost. And I don't mean to diminish the actual real threats that are being exposed at this point. There are some real threats. There is some real threats to democracy for sure. However, that is only a small piece of the pie, right? People are being sort of, kept in a little bubble, constructed by these influencers, and they just focus on the Dems are weak and this and that and whatever, and not telling the full scope about how the Dems are about to win. 2-year vacation. That's what's happening right now. 2-year vacation, right? They get to do nothing. Biden presidency is over, right? He gets to sit on his ass and say, the Republicans, I wanted them to stop, but the Republicans, but the Republicans, but the Republicans, but the Republicans. And then the fiasco of 2024 comes in. And then all of a sudden the left, who has been out to brunch, then you're going to start to see the protests, DeSantis is going to be a president. He's a fascist. There's no justice, no peace, and then it's gonna be another, some BLM 2.0 and all. And I'm just gonna be like, hey guys, remember in 2021? Remember in 2020? You remember in 2022 when you guys were on your asses, right? You were asleep, you're out to brunch, right? When you had a chance to fight and you could have gotten stuff done, you could have put pressure on the Democrats to actually deliver more. Instead of doing that, you chose to sit on your asses and be out to brunch. Now in 2024, now, oh no, DeSantis, he's gonna this and that. You knew this. You knew this from 2 years ago. I gotta do my prediction video. I'm gonna put my prediction video out where I'm gonna talk to 2024 people from the past. And I'm gonna remind them exactly what they were doing. In 2022, when the Democrats were in power and they were capable of being pressured to delivering a lot more, instead of fighting direct action and protests and boycotts and all this kind of stuff, instead of doing that, right, you guys were on some bullshit. But come 2024, it's gonna be out in the streets with the signs and this and that, and hamsters in a wheel. Right? It's the same bullshit over and over again. Get me off this ride. Dems are bad for me, and so are Republicans. The Democrats will get me out of my home, right? And the Republicans will hand my home to BlackRock. Right? Right. I'm out!